Working on a friend of mine's truck. It's an old bomb that he uses on the local job where I work. Headlights. Got headlight issues on this side, the passenger side. And the first thing I see is a probe where, well, before I even get there, anytime I see any kind of bandaging on wiring and there's an issue with that circuit, I always tear into that bandage and see what's going on in there, because most of the time that's where I find the trouble, because people don't repair wiring properly. It works fine when it leaves the shop and that's all they care about. Well, this is all wrong. I mean, you can use crimp-ons, but you got to seal up the ends. I never do any kind of wiring outside unless I solder it first before I seal it up. Not that it's absolutely necessary to solder the ends. If they're sealed up good with silicone inside the heat shrink before you heat it up, is good enough. But for me, I still solder, even when I crimp on connections. Now right here, I peeled some of this protective sleeve back. It was already peeled back some. This is old and brittle. The right way to fix this is to replace this piece. This hole right here, so obviously somebody stuck a test probe in there, a test light, and they didn't seal it up afterwards. The positive going to a circuit is the most vulnerable to turning green like this, especially when it's outside, exposed to the elements. In colder climates, you have no way of avoiding the salt on the roads and stuff. This skin, when they were skinning this plastic back, they were sloppy, and they cut into this wire all the way back to here, and I don't know if you can see it or not, but I can. They actually exposed the copper in there, just barely, but they did. And I've got to get in there and seal that up. I'll clean it all off, clean it with brake cleaner, and I'll paint some liquid tape on it, and then I'll peel this back farther and wrap some tape around it after the liquid tape dries. If you don't have liquid tape, you can just put silicone gasket sealer in there and give it a chance to dry good before you wrap it up with tape. This one, I got to cut this wire off because the same wire, the black, sorry about the camera, I'm watching my work instead of what's on the camera. I got to cut this wire back here and find some decent copper and graft another piece in, because that same wire is actually broken in half right there. So if this was a newer truck, this truck's nearly 30 years old. It's a 97, and at the time of this video, we're just getting into 2026. So this wire I can cut off back here, find some copper in there, and put another piece of wire in it all the way up to here. So this is not a high amperage circuit, it's just headlights. Not very many amps at all, maybe about 10 amps, not even that for one headlight. I mean, the whole system works about 10 amps. But so it doesn't have to be that big of a wire, but I'm going to see if I can find one that big. I mean, a 14 gauge is adequate for carrying the amount of current, but since it's probably got a 12 gauge, maybe a 10, I'm going to find one that size to graft it in there to repair that. At least it's one wire, the same black wire is doing it down here too. So any electrical problem, any circuit, you always look for loose connections at your multi-connectors. Any place where the wire is stressed, like going around corners, bending, anything pulling on it, rubbing on it, you always check that area first. And if you see any repairs that are bandaged up, you always have to go in there and make sure that that repair was done right before you go any farther. Okay, I cut that black wire off. That was bad. Let's see. I got that here, and they might have used acid solder because it works better, but you can't use acid solder on copper wiring. Absolutely not. Never use acid core solder on electric wiring unless it's an emergency and you are going to repair it properly later. This one is flexing too easily right here. Where this goes into right here, it's flexing too easily, and it's stiffer up here, but down here it's too soft. Excuse me. I think they probably did use acid core solder because it does work faster and easier, but it'll eat up your wiring after a while. So don't do that. Use rosin core only. If they used any solder at all, these heat shrink protectors should have kept that out, but if they didn't put some glue in the ends of that before they sealed it, then might not, especially right here where your front wheel, the front tire is throwing all that salt and road grime on this. Anyway, I'm going to cut these off, and I don't trust them because that'll be the next one to go. So I'm going to cut those off, and I'm going to tell him that the right way to fix this is to get this wiring harness. He probably won't do it. He'll agree with me that that's the right way to do it, but he'll put that idea on the shelf and forget about it. So I'm going to go on ahead and solder this up and fix them properly for a repair, but he still should replace this thing. But trouble is, with a truck this old, it'd have to be ordered. It's not going to be in stock. Sorry, the camera work's going to be tricky on this because I don't have a way to mount the camera where I can do it, but I'm just going to cut this off here above that repair. I'm going to cut it off here. This one's kind of long, the heat shrink. I'll probably cut it off down a little bit lower and see if we can get good wire down there. And then the same thing here, I'll cut those off and make sure we have good wire inside there, good clean copper wire before I graft onto them with more wire. I could just run this all the way up to here and just put it on without putting wire in between it, but I want these two harnesses to be about the same length so that one is not pulling on the other. It's just better that way. I'll go on ahead and make it the same length it was. I'm over here on the other side of the truck now, and I see this one has been monkeyed with too. Called the dealer, and they do have them in stock, not the originals. The ones they got are from Corroded, but that's okay. They're not going to be quite the original quality, but they should outlast the truck, hopefully. And if I remember correctly, I think it comes with this piece separate, and you have to pass the wires through the hole from the outside in here, and then you have to connect the wires here in their proper place, their proper color. Now, just for educational purposes, I'm going to take, I got a plastic cap, not the one that goes to the jug, but just something that'll hold a little bit, and I'm going to dip this wire. Let me zoom in just a little here. The blackest of these wires is that red one. Doesn't look black on the, but I'm going to dip that and show what happens in muriatic acid. It's taking it a little long. I thought this would do it instantly. Sometimes it does it right away. I guess it depends on how much is on there. But that will, don't know what we're getting on the camera here, but it's turning copper color pretty quick. And then I forgot to prep a little baking soda and water. I'll have to shut the camera off and get that. There, I got some here from a couple days ago when I was cleaning batteries. The trouble is, this acid makes the copper a lot more porous on the outside, so the neutralizing with baking soda and water is the best I have to work with, but it's not 100% perfect. That copper is still going to be compromised a little bit. But it's no longer black. That'll take solder now. And it's a little crusty. Still needs to be kind of brushed a little bit because it's got a little crusty film on it. But it's not black anymore. That'll take solder now. The other one's not as bad. We can do that one too. Let's see what happens on that green one. It doesn't have to be muriatic acid. It can be sulfuric acid, phosphoric acid. All of them will do that. They'll all strip that, whatever that stuff is, that oxidation that gets on the copper makes it turn black. But you brush that corrosion off of there and it'll be clean copper and it will take solder now. But like I said, it won't last forever because the copper's a little bit compromised after that acid being on it. The parts came. Actually, the owner went and picked them up. They had them at the store. They're aftermarket, but they'll work. And I'm going to show how to put these on. First, we got to take the old one off and we got to pass this through the hole. They come in from the outside, pass this end through there like that, and then you just got to make sure you don't get your colors mixed up. So just do one side at a time. You can always look at the other side to make sure you got them right. When you plug these into your headlights, they don't use the 2-hole anymore for replacements. They're all three hole now, but you only got 2 contacts in there, this one and that one. So that's going to be for your high beam. This one with the 3 contacts will be for the low beam, but they'll fit on both lights, so you got to watch, make sure you put them on. And both lights will work, but your high beams won't work, and your low beam, excuse me, only your low beam, only the high beams will work, not the low beam if you put them on wrong. But let's see here. I gotta put this camera on a tripod and show how to get these pins out of there. Take a picture with your phone with the lock side of the tab up, and so you make sure your colors are clear that you can see them. If you can't, clean them off. This one's already out. I'll show how to get those out. This is a clip that I'm doing actually probably a couple months later than the rest of this video, because when I was going through those clips to make the video, to do the editing, I realized that I did not have a clip of showing how to get these things out of there. And so I'm going to try to do this real quick here. And I'm standing behind the camera. This is a bit awkward. The camera's on a tripod and I'm standing behind it. And these little pins that were inside there, well, maybe they were pushed on the end. I don't remember. Maybe they were on the inside. So anyway, that little locking tab, apparently these were on the inside instead of the outside. What I mean by inside is on this side of this open area instead of on the back side. And I had to put a tool down inside the plastic clip and push that down, and then you could pull this out. And I'm gonna, since I don't have the truck here anymore, I'm gonna show how I did that on this headlight wire. The same locking tab goes in here. Sorry about, I'm looking at the part instead of the camera. So what I'm going to do is push, since that little small channel right there where the locking tab is on this side of the wire, not this side. I'm going to go on this side of it over here and push in, and that should pull that out. There we go. That pushed this tab. Kind of self-explanatory, but if someone hasn't done it before, you gotta see how to do that. And then when you put it back in, it just locks back in there, it doesn't come out. Any kind of a tool, these here straight seal picks work good for me to do that. And I also have a bag, even with a seat, like a key ring deal on it. A whole bunch of all different kinds, shapes and sizes. They were cheap on Amazon, and these are pretty simple on this truck, but you know, a pick like this will get them, but sometimes you need special tools to get them opened up on some connectors. So anyway, that's, I'm sorry I don't have the original, the one that we were working on this video, but this headlight one, that's just basically how you get those out, and then you just plug them back into your holder in the proper order. And here we even still have this piece here, this ground that I was going to repair before we bought those new harnesses. That thing is still laying here where it was broken. I was going to repair that and decided, no, we'll just replace the whole thing. I'm not going to show how to take the headlight bezel off and the headlights. If you can't figure that out, go get someone that knows how to do that. Don't even mess with it. But once you get your headlights out and you pull this through, spray a little WD or something like that on this grommet, pull it through until it locks into its proper position there, and then you should just be able to snap these in. You can spray some WD-40 or something of that nature on. If nothing else, just spit inside there, and then you push those wires through the right colors. Make sure your colors are right. Take a picture with your phone before you pull them out, or just go to the other side and look and see what the colors are on that side. Snap them in there, push them in, snap them in tight, and then you're done. Put your headlights back together in the front. I better show some more stuff on here. I know there's a lot of inexperienced people out there. I don't want them to make things worse. But this screw right here in the middle is your headlight adjustment screw. Do not touch that. This one over here on the side, same thing. Do not touch that. Loosen up these two bottom screws about halfway out, and then take these two top ones out all the way, and then pull this frame down, and then unplug your headlight from behind. Your plug with the 3 contacts goes on the outside. That's your low beam. 1, 2, 3 contacts. The high beam only has 2 contacts on a 4 headlight system. That goes on this side, so be sure you route your wires that way. I may have to take one of these buckets out. I don't want to, because that's going to mess with the headlight adjustment. But if you don't put your headlights back in the right position, they're not going to fit in the bucket. The high beam headlight will not seat tightly in the low beam bucket and vice versa. Have to take the whole headlight frame off on the low beam side, and then you're going to need a hook like this for this spring down here in the lower right hand corner. You got to get that spring off of there. You're going to need 2 hands because that's pulling the bucket out with it, so I need 2 hands to hold the bucket in while I pull the spring off. Now I got the spring off. I can try to get this bucket off of here without messing with the headlight adjusting screws. Need 2 hands. I got it off. I had to pull the bottom out, and then I was able to turn it enough to get this unhooked off of that one. Needs new buckets, but not my truck. Alright, now we can pull this out of here, put the new one in that way, and then put everything together out here, and then we will snap those wires together inside. We'll raise the hood for that. Go ahead and feed these wires in there. Keep the 3 contacts on this side, and the 2 contacts, we'll feed that through here and bring it out for the high beam. Put your bucket back together. Pull your hook out, or your spring out with your hook, and set it in the corner of the bucket. These headlights do have to go in with the writing facing the proper direction, and the reason why is these little holes, these little knobs in the back that fit in the little holes are not all the same size. So they're not all the same size, and the holes that they go into are not all the same size, so they will not seat in there if you don't get those lined up right. And the reason why is because of the way that the bulb is designed, and the direction of the beam is all worked into that, so it has to be in the right position.